Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Virginia improved their win total every year under Bronco Mendenhall until last year. The Cavaliers went 5-5, a 1-4 start, but a 4-1 finish, in a year that many say doesn't really count. So I do have a feeling that the Cavaliers will improve on their win total in 2021. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, here to predict Virginia's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our prediction videos from now until the beginning of this college football season. Also, make sure to check out everything down in our description below, where we have so many exclusive offers for you, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. You will get some of the best spread picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. And now, for our 5-year anniversary, we are tacking on our NFL spread picks. So do not miss out on this opportunity. Don't miss out on that offer. Go check it out, thegridironexpert.com. Link in the description below. So, all right, let's talk Virginia football, guys. Let's talk about these Cavaliers. Bronco Mendenhall has done a phenomenal job with his program. He's now entering year 6. It's just 2 years removed now from winning the Coastal Division and making the Orange Bowl, where they fell to Florida. When you look at this team going into 2021, they have all the makings, guys, to get back to the postseason to improve on that 5-win total from 2020. Offensively, they returned 7 starters, and it starts with their quarterback in Brennan Armstrong. Threw for over 2,100 yards and 18 touchdowns last year, and was actually Virginia's leading rusher in 2020, 552 yards and 5 touchdowns on the year. Billy Kemp IV returns for him, 644 reception yards last year. So does Lavelle Davis Jr., 515 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. Lavelle Davis, though, suffering a torn ACL in the spring. Whether or not he's back for the beginning of the year when they face William and Mary, well, remains to be seen. Hopefully he'll return at some point this year. 30.7 points per game for the Cavaliers last year, 260.6 passing yards per game. But I will say that the X factor on this offense is going to be Keaton Thompson, the transfer quarterback from Mississippi State, the do-it-all player. He wasn't going to beat out Brennan Armstrong for the job, so he found himself useful elsewhere. Can run the ball. He can catch the ball. He's a dynamite player on special teams. This guy can do it all, and he's going to be a difference maker in a lot of games for Virginia in 2021. Defensively, they also returned 7 starters. It's the area where they need the most work. Virginia had the worst passing defense in the ACC last year. Allowed 304.4 passing yards per game. That ranked 123rd in the country out of 130 FBS teams. But they should improve. Joey Blunt returns to lead this secondary. So does Nick Grant. So does Josh Hayes, the transfer from North Dakota State. Bronco Mendenhall utilizing the transfer portal perfectly this last offseason. Factor in Nick Jackson leading the linebacking core. Had 105 tackles last year, ranked him 3rd among all players in the ACC. This is a team that has the makings, again, to get back to the postseason, to improve on their win total, and make some noise once again in the ACC Coastal. So let's take a look at the Cavaliers' schedule. Let's take a look and see what Virginia is up against in 2021. Well, they opened the year against William and Mary. Let's chalk that up as a win. Let's give the Cavaliers a win. They're 1-0. They then play Illinois at home, and I like this game, guys. I like it a lot. You got 2 teams, a Big Ten team and an ACC team. Neither of them elite by any means. They seem to be around this level playing field, if you ask me. But one team is in a better spot than the other right now, and that team is not Illinois. They're a team that's dealing with a brand new head coach, Brett Bielema, a guy that I think is going to do great there, just maybe not in year 1. He's a guy that knows the area well, knows the Big Ten well, head coaching experience at Wisconsin and Arkansas, a little bit of a stint in the NFL with the Patriots and the Giants. He'll do fine in Champaign. They do return 15 starters, including 8 starters on offense, tons of super seniors for the Fighting Illini this year, but they were a very experienced team last year. We thought they'd do very well last year, or at least we didn't, but many did. And Illinois disappointed, going just 2-6. This is a team that still has way too much to overcome, a team that's going to go through scheme changes left and right under Bielema and his new staff. They're not going to have that in place by week 2. They're certainly not going to have that in place to come on the road and snag a win over an improving Virginia team. The Cavaliers defeat the Fighting Illini in week 2. They're 2-0. They then traveled to North Carolina, and they beat the Tar Heels guys last year. Let's just think about that for a second. North Carolina made the Orange Bowl last year. They are a top 10 team to kick off this year, and they lost to Virginia last year 44-41. So all the credit in the world to Bronco Mendenhall and the Cavaliers for having the worst passing defense in the country, yet stopping one of the best passing offenses in the country last year. The thing is, they are now going on the road to Chapel Hill. They're facing a UNC team that returned 16 starters with one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Sam Howell. Threw for 3,586 yards, 30 touchdowns in 2020. This North Carolina secondary is elite. They are deep. 8 starters back on that side of the ball as well. And again, it's on the road, a revenge game for the Tar Heels. I just don't see Virginia being able to hang with North Carolina like they did last year. It would take, I think, a lot of mistakes on North Carolina's end for them to drop this game. So Virginia, I believe, loses this game, and they fall to 2-1. They then return home to take on Wake Forest on a short week. They face the Demon Deacons on a Friday night. And you look at this Wake Forest team, guys. They beat the Cavaliers 40-23 last year. 40-23 last year. 17 points. Remember, Virginia started 1-4 last year. 3 of those 4 losses came by at least 17 points. Let's keep that in mind. So, a horrible start, but an unbelievable finish, really, for Bronco Mendenhall and his squad. That lone loss in the final 5 games was to Virginia Tech. But you look at Wake Forest, a team that returns 11 starters on offense. They return everybody. Sam Hartman, Jakari Roberson, 8 starters back on defense. But here's my logic here, is while Sam Hartman and this Demon Deacons passing attack could be one of the better attacks in the ACC this year, I don't see Virginia getting exploited 2 weeks in a row. Their secondary is one of the worst in the nation last year. Mendenhall knows that. He's fixing that. It will start to get fixed as the year goes on. They might get exploited against North Carolina in that passing attack. They won't let it happen again at home against Wake Forest. And while this game has the potential to be back and forth, while it has the potential to be high scoring, I don't think the Cavaliers drop this game at home. I think they make one crucial stop, get one big turnover, whatever it is, and what could be a shootout, Virginia emerges victorious at home. So 3-1. They then get a little bit of a tough stretch here. You never like to see back-to-back road games for anybody against any team, let alone it being in conference play. They travel to Miami, a team they lost to 19-14. They got a late score there at the end, so it was about 19-7. But still, they hung with the Hurricanes. Many thought they'd blow them out of the water, the Hurricanes, and they didn't. The Hurricanes did not show up for that game. Virginia is back on the road. Last year it was at Miami. Again, it's at Miami this year. But this year, I don't think it's going to be as close. This year, I can't see it being as close. Everybody is back for the Hurricanes. Cameron Harris at running back. De'Aaron King, namely, at quarterback. Most of their wide receivers. Brevin Jordan at tight end is gone. But everybody's there for Miami to make a deep run this year and to make some noise, not just in the ACC, but nationally. 9 starters are back defensively, and I don't think Virginia right now has the offensive capability to exploit any weaknesses that Miami might have defensively. This is the second best team in the Coastal behind North Carolina, and the fate of the Coastal could come down to when North Carolina and Miami play in late October. So at Miami, I don't think Virginia has enough to win this game. They dropped that. A little hung over after the Miami loss. I believe Virginia loses to Louisville. They beat the Cardinals 31-17 last year. That was a bad Louisville team. And this is going to be an interesting matchup because Louisville had the number 1 passing defense in the ACC last year, allowed just 189.2 passing yards per game. Virginia, as we've mentioned, had the worst passing defense in the ACC last year, allowing 304.4 passing yards per game. So this is a matter of which secondary steps up big. Does Louisville's remain as strong? Does Virginia's remain as bad? Do they flip-flop? What happens here? And which quarterback outduels the other? Because you're facing 2 mediocre quarterbacks here in Mikhail Cunningham of Louisville and Brennan Armstrong of Virginia. But I look at Louisville right now. They get the home field advantage. That's the first thing. I do believe their offense will be clicking a little bit under Scott Satterfield by October 9th. That's another huge thing, guys. Their offense was so sporadic last year. They're going to straighten things out by, 5-6 games into the season. And I really, really think that home field advantage, guys, while you might frown upon that, is going to play a bigger role this year than we've ever seen before. This is a big year. After everything we dealt with last year, home field advantage, sold-out crowds across the country are going to play a huge, huge role. And Louisville is going to have just that. 14-point victory for the Cavaliers last year. I believe they lose a one-possession game this year on the road. So, right now, they are 3-3. They need a couple of wins to get back into bowl contention, guys, because they have a tough slate coming up. Luckily for Virginia, they get back-to-back home games against Duke and Georgia Tech, both of which will be towards the bottom of the ACC standings. Chalk them up with a quick win against Duke. 38-20 victory for the Cavaliers last year. Duke committed 39 turnovers in 11 games in 2020. And I know everybody hates to hear that. If you're a Duke fan, you're like, please stop talking about how many turnovers we committed. But it's true. It's embarrassing. And now you don't have a quarterback. You have quarterback questions. You have no offensive identity. You have 5 starters back on defense. Everything's falling apart for David Cutcliffe and the Blue Devils. Virginia takes advantage of that at home. They then get Georgia Tech at home. Georgia Tech beat Florida State, Louisville, and Duke last year. All their other losses, all 7 of their losses, came by double digits. While the Yellow Jackets will improve, and they'll be much more competitive across the board, I don't think they have what it takes to come on the road to beat Virginia. Georgia Tech had the second worst passing defense in the ACC, obviously only behind Virginia. Allowed 270.1 passing yards per game. They averaged 190.8 rushing yards per game. Jeff Sims and obviously Jahmyr Gibbs were the 2 guys that were leading this offense. For Georgia Tech. Well, the fact of the matter is Virginia only allowed 138.5 rushing yards per game. So while their secondary was horrible, their front 7 and stopping the run wasn't too bad. That's what Georgia Tech's strength is running the ball. So Virginia shuts down the run game. They force the Yellow Jackets to win the game through the air. They can't do it. It's at home. Brennan Armstrong has himself a field day at home. They've won back-to-back games. Now they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. Getting Duke and Georgia Tech in back-to-back weeks after losing back-to-back games is huge, because both those should be wins for Virginia, and both those could be big, dominating wins for Virginia. They then travel to BYU, Bronco Mendenhall facing off against his former team. How exciting. It's going to be awesome. And look, we know Provo's not an easy place to play. Right in the middle of your conference schedule, you have to travel way out west to go to Utah. That's a long, long road trip for the Cavaliers, guys, and it kind of breaks up the swing of things. It's right before a bye week. Got that all hanging over your head. You're ready for that week of rest. You've now played, at this point, this will be your 9th consecutive game that you've played. It takes a toll on you. But they go to BYU, and this is a BYU team that will not be the same BYU team that we saw last year. We know that. Zach Wilson has gone. There's a lot of key offensive pieces. But the biggest storyline for BYU is not the fact they lose Zach Wilson. I think their offense will still be fine. Is that they only have 4 returning starters on defense. BYU had one of the most dominating defenses in the country last year, especially up front in the trenches. They're not going to have that this year. They will not have that this year. And I think Virginia, riding high after 2 straight wins here, maybe a chance where they can get rested if they dominate in those games, rest their starters a little bit, comes on the road to Provo and beats BYU in a close one. Obviously, they want to win for their head coach. They want to win for Bronco Mendenhall, get the win at BYU against his former team. But at the end of the day, I like Brennan Armstrong at quarterback better than whoever's under center for BYU. Bit of a quarterback battle going on there. And I like Virginia's defense, especially their front 7, right now better than BYU's. And what should be a close game, they beat the Cougars on the road. And with that, they will clinch bowl eligibility. And it's a good thing, too, because they get their bye week, and their final 3 games are brutal. Notre Dame, potential top 10, 15 team at this point, at Pittsburgh, and then Virginia Tech. And we know how well Virginia's fared against their in-state rivals. So a bye week, they take on Notre Dame. A Notre Dame team that might have offensive struggles, which would be great for Virginia, but a Notre Dame team whose defense is going to be one of the best in the country, I feel like. 6 returning starters back. Marcus Freeman leading that defense. Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the country. Everything points to an elite Notre Dame defense and an offense that by this point in the season should have figured some things out. It is at Virginia, But Notre Dame from top to bottom, I believe, is better than the Cavaliers. So they dropped this game. They then travel to Pittsburgh. They're facing a team with a 5-year starter at quarterback in Kenny Pickett, a solid running back in Vincent Davis, and one of the better young wide receivers in the conference in Jordan Addison. They'll tailor that up with a defense from Pittsburgh that's been one of the best in the country for the last 2 or 3 years. It's always a strength under Pat Narduzzi, and Pat Narduzzi's squads typically finish strong in the month of November. I don't like Virginia's odds on the road, especially. Drop the game to the Panthers. Then they face Virginia Tech, their in-state rivalry game. Remember, we said they went 4-1 to finish the year last year for the Cavaliers. That lone loss, 33-15 against Virginia Tech. A game where Virginia was actually slightly favored over the Hokies, and they could not get the job done. Remember, they were finishing strong. Virginia Tech was not. Couldn't get it done then. I don't think they get it done now. Virginia Tech has won 16 of the last 17 meetings against their in-state rivals in the Cavaliers. That lone loss for Virginia Tech was in 2019, a 39-30 victory for Bronco Mendenhall and the Cavaliers, the year Bryce Perkins led them to the ACC championship game. While they host the Hokies this year, and while it could be relatively close, Virginia Tech's defense has what it takes to slow down this Virginia offense. And right now, I think Braxton Burmeister, towards the end of the year, as we mentioned in our Virginia Tech video, starts to hit his groove and it can exploit this Virginia secondary just like they were exploited last year. Virginia Tech bumps it up to 17 of the last 18 against the Cavaliers. We mentioned it's a brutal stretch, guys. Brutal last 3 games for the Cavaliers, but nonetheless, they clinch bowl eligibility long before the season ends. So yes, the Cavaliers finish on a 3-game losing streak. You hate to see that. No one likes to finish on a sour note. But the fact of the matter is, they do improve on last year's win total, and they are going back to the postseason. And if you're a Cavaliers fan, you've got to be happy with that. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you see 7-5, but I think that's best case scenario. Maybe they beat Louisville. Maybe they beat Pittsburgh. Maybe they upset Virginia Tech. But 7-5 is the best case scenario for Virginia in our eyes. But nonetheless, this is a bowl team. This is a team that will improve, and this is a team that you need to keep watching out for as long as Bronco Mendenhall is there. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Make sure to continue to hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our prediction videos from now until the start of the college football season. Also, make sure to check out everything down in our description below, including our expert picks on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best picks in the country for one of the lowest prices in the country now, both college and NFL. Do not miss out on that. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.